If you are in the market for a new computer and you are like me, an Apple fanboy who enjoys shelling out way too much money for fancy aesthetics and stuff like that to be in the Apple ecosystem, but you want to save a little money because the computers are ridiculously expensive and you have to upgrade them way too often, this may be the video for you. If you just want to know if you should buy a refurbished Mac or not, I'm going to tell you right now without having to watch the whole video, yes, you should just buy a refurbished Mac unless you need to either finance that Mac for whatever reason, or if you're a student and you might get a student discount on a new one. The other reason might be that they don't have the spec that you want in the refurbished store. It's only a certain amount of specs. Or if you review these computers for a living and you need the newest one right away, which is not many of you, if any of you. That being said, if you'd like to know why buying a refurbished Mac makes sense and some of the things to look for when purchasing a refurbished Mac, stay tuned. So what is a refurbished Mac, you might ask? I'm not 100% sure, but my assumption is these are Macs that people bought and they either didn't like the spec of or the model and they exchanged them or returned them, etc. These also might be computers that Apple from the factory had issues with. So maybe some keyboard issues, trackpad issues, screen issues, whatever that might be, they get sent to the refurbished program. They get onced over, change all the parts and components that weren't working, and now they're refurbished. There's no discerning this from a new computer. They are exactly like as if you purchased a new computer. If there was any issues with any of the things, and they might actually change some of the components, like I'm not 100% sure if they change the screen on every single one so that they look and are brand new, the battery on every single one so that they look and are brand new. Not 100% sure, but from my research and from what I've seen in my own computer, it seems like they either do that or these have just never been used. This means that the computers are actually more reliable because they have been tested and have gone through quality assurance more than once. And usually the components that are going to break in the first little bit. So if they broke and they got returned and replaced and refurbished, then you know you have a computer that's going to last and it's not going to have some issues right off the bat. One of the nice things about the refurbished program that they have changed is you now get a dedicated serial number, which means that when you trade in your Mac or if you sell your Mac, people don't know it's refurbished unless obviously you give them the refurbished box. I would say the biggest con so far that I've noticed from the entire process is that you don't get Apple education pricing. So if you're a student who wants to save money, which students typically do, you can't get that. You can't buy refurbished through the education pricing because you get a discount already, I'm assuming. You also can't finance through refurbished pricing. So you have to buy that straight up, which I think is a little weird because people buying refurbished probably are trying to save money anyway. So maybe they need to finance something. One of the biggest upsides for buying these refurbished computers as well is that the shipping times are way quicker. They don't have to actually build specific spec'd out models to be able to send you. So, at Foxconn or wherever they're built, they don't need to build those, then ship them over from China and get here. Like when I custom ordered my last 16-inch model, it took quite a while to get it. And that was also amid the chip shortage and all that kind of stuff. But this, it took like 3-4 days. So on the particular model that I bought the 16-inch 2023, I think, M2 Pro, 16 gigabytes of RAM and 1 terabyte SSD. I saved $520 Canadian, which I think is a really good deal. We're gonna talk about why I really would never recommend just buying a new computer now, but to save $520, that's a really big reason right there. The other beneficial upside of buying through refurb is you still get 1 year of Apple warranty, and you can buy Apple Care or whatever it's called, the 2-year extension as well. So you're not losing out on any warranty issues buying refurbished. So when buying a used or refurbished Mac, the one thing that you definitely want to do is make sure that everything works and matches and that you're going to be happy with the product so that if there are any issues, you could return it. The first thing that I checked with my computer was the screen. I did a dead pixel test to make sure that the screen had no dead pixels. I made sure there was no scratches on the outside, and to me, it looked absolutely perfect. I would make sure to do something similar like this, just make sure the screen looks good while it's still under warranty. The other thing that I would really look for, and probably the biggest thing that people are going to look at when buying refurbished, is for any scratches on the body, any scratches near the ports to show any use, just any scratches really anywhere. These laptops can scratch because they're silver and metal. So just make sure that there's no scratches on the body because you probably want to return it if you have a big ding in it somewhere. Another thing to check for is the speakers. Make sure that they sound good and that there is no rattling in the body when you are playing them. Another big thing, the biggest thing that I was personally worried about when buying refurbished from the reviews that I've seen is the battery. I didn't know if they replaced the battery or not, but it seems like my battery is 100% brand new according to what they tell me, but Apple's been known to lie about batteries in the past, so we'll see if that's really true going down the future. I'd also check the camera, make sure that that works and make sure that there's no issues there, a microphone, etc. You want to make sure that you don't have any issues when trying to hop on your Zoom meetings. The trackpad is another place where you can have some issues. I would touch all around the trackpad. It's a nice big trackpad. Make sure that it works everywhere and you get haptic feedback everywhere you press. Another place that you want to look at is the keyboard. I would just check every key, make sure there's no sticking, wobbling, make sure that they all work and that you're happy with them. You can double check that the serial numbers match on the box, the software, and the back of the unit to make sure that there was no quality assurance issues there and somebody slipped you the wrong box by accident, because that could lead to some troubles down the line when returning. Status of the ports is another big one. We want to make sure that they all work. We got a ton of ports now. We want to make sure they're not all dinged up. Somebody, slipping in an HDMI port, scratching up the side of it. For me, they all look good. I had no issues. There was no dust in there. It seemed like it was brand new. And the last thing that we want to look at is the Touch ID and the power button. Make sure those work. And that's pretty much most of the things that you could look at. My unit was pretty much completely brand new. I just don't understand why I would ever buy a brand new unit from Apple and spend about $500, I think it's 30% or so more on each unit. It just doesn't make sense. So going forward, I'm going to be buying refurbished as long as they have the model that I need and they stay up to date and current.